How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Weekly podcast from the Iowa State Daily. As always, I'm Brett Twellmeyer, the sports editor, and I'm going to be your host once again, and I'll have my co-hosts introduce themselves.
What's up, guys? Assistant sports editor Pavel Markovic back with you.
Caden Storm, sports reporter.
Well, guys, we had a pretty eventful game, I guess, in the second half this past Saturday. Iowa State, number 18 Iowa State, now number 16 Iowa State, takes down Houston 20-0 on the road. It was a pretty great performance from the defense. Caden, you were the one who had the takeaway article for this game. Do you kind of want to take the first stint here? Like, what did you see that kind of screamed at you from this performance?
You know, I think most of my takeaways kind of were from outside of the actual game themselves, more about like, you know, kind of the history we saw with Campbell and from Higgins. Because if I'm being honest, the game itself did not give much to talk about. I mean, Iowa State defense played amazing. We can talk about that all day probably, but on offense, there just wasn't much. The first drive we went down, scored a field goal, and then I think we punted every single drive for the rest of the first half. And that tells you about all you need to know. The second half, we did get jump-started a little bit, but it was a lot of nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. A lot of nothing. Higgins had that touchdown catch in that third quarter. That was the thing that kind of really started to change the momentum, it felt like. Pavle, what did you see from kind of his performance and just kind of like the whole game, really?
Obviously, you saw Higgins was Beck's favorite target that game. Obviously, he kept trying to throw it to him. I don't remember exactly what quarter it was, but it seemed like Jalen Noel in the second half was dealing with cramps, so I didn't really play the fourth quarter. Then again, he wasn't really needed because we were able to handle Houston. But yeah, to see Higgins actually break that record, I think was its sixth consecutive regular season game with a touchdown, is now the new Iowa State record that passed Todd Blythe and Ty Watley, who he was tied with before. But it was a good time to see him play, and I know he was Beck was trying to connect with Higgins on the first time that touchdown. He grabbed it one-handed, but I think there's a penalty on the offense that called it back. But regardless, I feel like Higgins did Higgins things. He kind of led the way for Iowa State's offense, along with obviously the running game that did play really well.
Yeah, you look at the stats. Higgins had 8 of Beck's 17 completed passes. So Higgins caught nearly like half of the completed passes in this game. Went for 79 yards, nearly averaged 10 yards per catch. Longest one was for 20, and he did have that touchdown. So obviously Higgins is going to be one of those top receivers. He has been. He did it again. He's getting those receptions up. It's just I kind of want to see him get a few more yards, but I digress. It was still a great performance. I'm happy to see him take that achievement or that accomplishment of 6 straight games with a touchdown. I think he's really deserving of it.
Yeah, he is one of those type of players that, impresses every game. It seems like, he's always going out there giving it his best no matter what. Like, even if Noel is outperforming him, he still performs like how he's expected to. So, yeah, I'm really happy for what Higgins did, and I expect him to continue to make an impact like he has throughout the rest of his conference season.
Yeah, he extends what is now the longest national streak of consecutive games with a touchdown. He alone owns that record right now. So I wrote exactly this. It jump-started the offense kind of in a way that they needed some juice. They hadn't had it since the first drive of the game, and from there, I mean, you could see the offense finally starting to come around, and it was all kind of downhill for Houston from there.
Right. And the defense really was an integral part of just keeping Houston down all game. I mean, to let up 0 points to a team that, Houston just felt like they could run all over Iowa State. The quarterbacks did it. The running backs did a solid job of running the football, it felt like. But to buckle down and hold a team to 0 points, and again, Houston, this is back-to-back games with the Cougars that they've scored 0 points, which is insane. But to be able to do it on the road against a team that has the dual threat capability at quarterback, against a team that can run the ball the way they do, with this Iowa State defense not being able to stop the run that well throughout the start of the season, I think that says a lot about what this defense is really capable of.
Yeah, and I think obviously you talked about this. The defense has already been doing this type of thing through non-conference, although they gave up points still, but that's kind of expected. But this game, I think, really just adds another level to show what they've been able to do this season. Shutting out a team like Houston, I know they're not the greatest team, but still it is a Big 12 conference game. They still gave Iowa State a run for their money in terms of defense, only letting up 20 points and only 3 in the first half. So, yeah, I think just a tremendous job all around. John Haycock leading that defense, of course, always doing what he does best. And, I thought it would be difficult just because of them throwing two different quarterbacks out there, Donovan Smith and Zion Chris, but, they were able to handle them both, and kind of reminded me of Arkansas State last week. Both of those quarterbacks struggled and led to the shutout win.
Yeah, you did see the struggles in the running game once again that we kind of took a week off from against Arkansas State, which Houston, while they're not a great Big 12 team, they are better than Arkansas State. So maybe that's a little expected. But, when you can't pass the ball, and Houston could not pass the ball, you have no chance.
They were shut down.
You might be able to rip off a couple nice runs and stuff, but if you can't throw the ball with any sort of consistency, and it's not just because Houston's not great. It's because Iowa State's defensive backs are really, really good.
Yep, and they were able to bait 2 more interceptions this week. Jeremiah Cooper had one. Jontez Williams had one. When you're able to blanket the field like that, it makes it tough for any team, and especially when you have quarterbacks like Houston's, like Donovan Smith. We know that he played against Iowa State before at Texas Tech, but in this game he was really limited, just 8 for 12 passing for 71 yards in that pick. Zion Chris was in the game as a backup quarterback for Houston, and we saw him periodically throughout the game. They really switched those two in and out through the entirety of the game, but he threw only 1 for 4 for 1 yard in a pick. So obviously not the best performance passing-wise from Houston. And again, like you're saying, Caden, this is exactly what we've seen the Iowa State defense, the secondary specifically, do all season.
Yeah, and even talking about, I think they mainly used Donovan Smith for like the actual trying to get the passing game going, obviously because he attempted more passes than Chris, and Chris I think was trying to be more of a dual threat, like using his legs mainly. They actually had the same amount of carries on the ground, even though Smith got more yards. So but yeah, like you're talking about, still like only allowing 9 completions this whole game on 16 attempts for 72 yards with 2 interceptions, and they only averaged 4.5 yards per attempt, which is insane to even hear.
Yeah, Chris did have some he had some he was fast, he was elusive. I think he had one long run get called back because of a penalty, and where he looked really athletic, but it was obvious they didn't trust him to throw the ball. And 1 for 4, 1 yards, 1 pick. It's kind of clear. You see why. Donovan Smith, he's an experienced quarterback, but I just don't think Houston has the weapons for. We've seen him. He's not this bad.
Yeah.
And I just don't think Houston had the weapons to match up whatsoever.
Right. Iowa State just really, again, shut them down all game. And even Houston's leading running back, Stacey Sneed, runs 10 times for 79 yards, doesn't score. He ripped one off for like 37, which was, a good run. But when that's kind of half of your yardage, and on your other 9 carries, you're getting about 40 yards, the defense is starting to shut things down on the run game. And that kind of goes to show what these linebackers have been able to do to step up. You look at guys like Cooper Ebel, who led tackling for the Cyclones. He had 9 total. Caleb Berzina was really close with 7. And like always, Bo Freeler was up there too. He had 7 total tackles in this game. So that linebacker room is really starting to step up, and we're starting to see everybody over there start to improve.
And talking about the linebackers specifically, we ended up losing yet another linebacker this week. John Klosterman looked like he went down with an injury. Didn't look pretty good, I should say, in terms of the severity of it. We talked to Matt Campbell earlier today about it, and he doesn't seem like he'll be playing this weekend against Baylor. And for the foreseeable future, looks like we don't know the extent of the injury. So, yeah, yet again, the linebacker room loses another key player. I know Klosterman didn't really play a lot of snaps, but he still could have been one of those guys like the backups to step up in a big way. But yeah, that just hurts again. But nonetheless, going back on a positive note, like you said, guys like Cooper Ebel, like you said, Caleb Berzina too, really stepped up, did their thing, and yeah, it's exciting to see what they're able to do. You
guys have been at these media availabilities for midweek media availabilities more than I have. Have they said anything about Will McLaughlin's?
Yeah, we got an update today about Will. I think, what did he say? He's still more on the positive side to coming back rather than not, but he's still a ways away for sure. That's what I think what Campbell said. I
would feel like if he does come back, it would probably be after the second bye week. I feel like the Texas Tech game is like the earliest we might see him come back.
Yeah, and even then it'd probably be around Kansas, Cincy, or later for sure.
Right.
It seems like his injury is still pretty ailing for him right now, so at least until then.
Yeah, he might just miss the entire year, but if he does come back, it'll definitely be later in the season.
Yeah.
Next man up.
That's what it's been this entire season.
They're getting better.
They are for sure.
They're growing into their roles very nicely. These guys are young, and they're getting set up for the rest of their careers. They're gonna have experience next year.
And that's what J.R. Singleton was talking about today too. I mean, he's a defensive lineman, but he said that he's really seen that room step up, and he said that the defensive line room specifically wants to be able to put the linebackers in a position that they can succeed. And that starts with getting hands on the offensive linemen and, making those holes open up where the linebackers can get through, and just everything like that goes into it.
Having guys like Dominique Orange and J.R. Singleton probably helps a lot.
It probably does.
Blockers, so
100%.
The linebackers are in a good situation. I think they'll continue to grow.
Yeah. And with the secondary, again, with their ability to shut down quarterbacks, this defense is just going to be humming, it feels like, in just weeks to come.
Yeah, 100%. I have to agree with you there.
Mm-hmm. But then I feel like that kind of covers it for like the defense. We could go back to the offense. Yeah. Specifically with the running back room, I thought that those guys once again popped off. Specifically Jalen Jackson. He felt like the lead back in a lot of this game. He had the most carries in the game with 14, 96 total yards. He had a long one for 50. I'm really liking what we're seeing from Jalen Jackson. I think that we are seeing a running back by committee, like we've been talking about. Carson Hansen had 9 carries. Abu Sama had 11. And you throw Jackson in there with 14. So it looks like it's going to be this 3-man group, and that's going to be good to keep everybody fresh. But to me, I feel like Jackson is starting to emerge as possibly that top guy of those 3.
Yeah, when you look at what he had, obviously we'll talk about Abu Sama after we talk about Jalen Jackson. But, just talking about what Jalen Jackson has done in the limited amount of carries, it seems like he's gotten more more yardage in terms of like getting those key first downs rather than Abu Sama. Because mainly when I watch Abu Sama play, he kind of like, obviously he had that one highlight play on Saturday where he hurdled the guy on top of his long touchdown, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But just in general, like 11 carries, he had 101 yards, but most of those came from that 77-yard touchdown. So when you really think about it, it was like 10 for like less than 40 yards?
Yeah.
I can't really do math in my head right now. But still, regardless, I feel like you said, Jalen Jackson's starting to become that guy, even though we thought Abu Sama was going to be that starter guy for this season. But it seems like, it's going to be Jackson out carrying Abu for as of now, even though Sama did have a nice day.
Through the last couple games where we've seen kind of this true split of carries, because, it really didn't start until last week against Arkansas State, where you could kind of see what they're trying to do, split them up all pretty evenly. I don't think I really care who's the top guy. I don't think there is a top guy.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to create a top guy. I don't think they're going to force that. I think this is just a good running back room. And like what you said with Abu Sama, most of his yards did come off that 77-yard run, which does help his average a lot. But you can say the same thing about Jalen Jackson this one too. The takeaway is 50-yard run. He's going 13 for 46 yards. That's less than 4 yards per carry right there. So, in this game for sure is more about the big game hunting, big play hunting. But I just think this running back room I think it rounds out perfectly. I don't think there needs to be a lead back, even though that's what we expected. I don't think it's necessarily a negative that Abu Sama hasn't stepped up. I think it's more of a positive that Jalen Jackson and Carson Hansen have stepped up.
Yeah, I like that take.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, because, when going back to last week, we saw guys like Carson Hansen be the lead back, even if Jalen Jackson and Abu Sama really would do anything. And then even if we don't have those top 3, like say one of them goes down, God forbid, they have Dylan Lee and Aiden Flora, the freshman, as backups right there. So, I think just like this general running back room is going to be well-rounded, like you said. And when you talk about like what we expected, like that lead back, like Abu Sama, hasn't churned out, but you said the positives are seeing these backups really getting to step up in those big roles. So, I'm just happy about the running back room and how it's shaping out. They look like they're bound for more success in the future. Read my notebook upcoming, more about that.
It is interesting when you do look at it, of the big playability of the running back room, like Sama's 77-yard run, and you compare that to his 101 total yards. Again, Jackson 50 yards on his long run. And then you kind of compare that to the receiving numbers. It felt like the receiving in this game kind of felt like more consistent, I think is the word. They were able to kind of like methodically move the ball through the air, whereas the run game kind of felt like it got shut down at times. But then when they had those big plays, that's what kind of set up a couple of those scoring drives. Obviously, the 77-yard touchdown being the score of that drive, though.
I love hearing in the broadcast from Eric Collins, Abu. Yeah, Eric Collins always brings the energy on the calls. But yeah, just talking like we loved seeing Abu. Like I think rewatching the play, Jared Hufford kind of helped change direction for Sama.
He pulled him to the right direction. Yeah.
He literally, I think he was about to get like tackled, one of those short gains like he usually does, but then he gave him a little shove, and got that 77-yarder, which I think will really do well for his confidence levels, because I think they were kind of low just thinking about how he wasn't able to get the amount of yardage he'd want to get on his amount of carries he's had so far. So I think this big run is really going to help him boost his level in terms of finishing out this conference schedule.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that game is exactly who we grew to know Abu Sama was as last year. I mean,
the big play guy.
Like, there were games last year where he was shut down, like we've seen this year. But those big plays break, and that's what he's about. We knew that coming in. He's never been the get you 4 yards type of guy. He's been the guy that's going to want to bounce it outside and go for big plays. And when it works, it's great. When it doesn't, that's why you got Jalen Jackson and Carson Hansen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of able to pick things up when they need to, and it really is a good thing. Like we're saying, that there are 3 guys that can carry the ball well, that can help this rushing game. And when you add up all of the yards in total on the rushing game, 240. That includes Rocco Beck's 9 yards on his 4 carries, but the running back room, those 3 guys had 231 yards across the 3 of them. So they're all around there at like 80 on average when you kind of shape everything together.
Yeah.
Receiving numbers, total amount of receiving yards was 153. So it's interesting that now there's kind of a shift that the running back room is doing a bit more. Yeah. Granted, there were the 2 big plays, and you take those away and it's a bit more even, but I digress.
Yeah, there was a stat that they said in the beginning of the game. I don't know which announcer said it. I don't even know what the exact stat is, but it was something to the effect of Iowa State leads the Big 12 with this many plays of at least this many yards. It was like plays of 15, like explosive plays, whatever they define that as for the NCAA. Mm-hmm. And on the ground, and we've seen that through the air. We haven't seen most of those explosive plays through the ground, and that was kind of the opposite this week. Through the air, it was just a lot of dink and dunk. It was a lot of not quite gelling like we've seen over the past couple weeks. Mm-hmm. But, maybe some of that has to go with Jalen Noel going down kind of late and really knowing that your defense isn't going to give up any ground, so you kind of just play conservative and not try to give it to them. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, there was a lack of explosivity through the air that we've been seeing over the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm. But then again, it wasn't really needed against a team like Houston. We didn't, obviously the first half it would have been nice to see, because, only scoring 3 points in the first half against a team like Houston isn't the greatest thing to see, but still got it done in the end. And yeah, I feel like this game isn't really a game you want to worry about, because we scored 20 points, but we still shut out a team like Houston. So it just speaks on the levels of our defense, and offense I think will be fine. It's just one of those down games. But Houston's defense was also probably the best aspect of their game, honestly, because, even though they gave up, 34 to Cincinnati, they only gave up 16 to Oklahoma in Norman. So they were not to be slept on, and obviously we still got the job done. So
yeah, that Houston defense isn't a bad defense by any means. Yeah. They're solid. It's their offense that really holds them back.
Yeah.
So they'll lead. I'm sure this defense, like Iowa State has, will probably lead them to at least another win or 2 in the conference, just alone.
Yeah, Houston could end up getting an upset win somewhere along the line. That usually happens with teams like this in the Big 12, like a late season,
keep things messy, keep things dirty.
Yeah, typical Big 12.
Yeah, but
craziness, parody.
Yeah, but then this win obviously meant the most for one specific person. I know for you, Brett, you wrote on this. Matt Campbell getting his official 57th win, becoming the all-time Iowa State leader in wins as a head coach, passing Dan McCarney. I know you kind of wrote about that in your opinion piece this week. Would you kind of see of just his impact on this program?
Well, first, if you haven't read it, I recommend you go read it.
Of course.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
it's very good, Brett.
Well,
don't sell yourself short. It's very good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Also read our other articles this week, too.
Yeah.
They're going to be great, too. Anyway, we're in a golden age of Iowa State football. Mm-hmm. This is the 133rd season of Iowa State football. They've been playing since 1892. Mm-hmm. They have never won 10 games in a season. Their winningest coach had 56 wins, yes, and Dan McCarney. But you can't forget the fact that he had 85 losses. I think that's the part that's really overlooked. He had 30 more losses than wins. Yeah. Matt Campbell has been here for 3.5 less seasons, and he's already passed that. And he's got half as many losses as Dan McCarney. So in less than a decade, Matt Campbell has brought a winning culture, a winning identity to Ames. In his 8 full seasons, he's made 6 bowl games. They've had 6 winning records. Well, one of his seasons that they had a losing record was year 1. And that's always expected in year one of rebuilding a program. When you go 3-9, you're not expected to do anything. It's like Houston.
Yeah.
They're in the first year of a rebuild. I mean, they're not really expected to do a whole lot, but in a few years, they could end up being a team like Iowa State, especially with a guy like Willie Fritz taking control.
Exactly.
But back to Iowa State, when you look at what he's been able to do to getting this team to not just recognition in the Big 12, but to a national level too. Mm-hmm. Iowa State from 1938 to 2015 was ranked 40 times in the AP Top 25. That's 80 years almost of being ranked, not even a full year. From 2016 to now, Iowa State has been ranked 34 weeks. So in not even a decade, and not even an eighth of the time, Iowa State has nearly eclipsed that number of amount of times being ranked. And that's all under Matt Campbell. Mm-hmm. He's also a 3-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it 4 this year. I wouldn't be shocked if they make it back to the Big 12 championship. I wouldn't be shocked if they start out with their highest win total in school history. They've never started 5-0. This is their first time being 4-0 since 2000, which, by the way, was Dan McCarney's best season as a head coach, his only 9-win season. Campbell's going to for sure get there this year, and he can get that 10-win total and be the first coach to do so in Iowa State history. We've never seen a head coach in Iowa State do what Campbell has done this many times in a row. And I've waited a long time for it. I know that you guys have. There's a lot of other people that have waited a lifetime to watch Iowa State be a team like this. I'm happy that they're here. I'm happy that Campbell has stuck around, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds for Matt Campbell and this team. I'm so happy for him. I'm happy for his staff. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for everyone that has sat through years, like over a century of just mediocrity. And now they're finally doing something positive.
Very well put.
Yeah.
Very well put.
He's the most important figure in Iowa State football history.
Build the statue.
There should be a 100-foot statue outside of Jack Trice Stadium the second he retires.
Yeah.
Screw it. Put it up now.
Yeah.
I don't care.
He's like...
They should name the field after him. I know Jack Trice Stadium won't change because of what Jack Trice has been
Matt
able
Campbell
to do.
Field at Jack Trice Stadium.
What Bill Fenley is to the women's basketball team, that's what Matt Campbell is to the football team.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah. You've got to rename the court at Hilton Coliseum after Bill Fenley, in my opinion, when he retires. So,
and maybe when TJ, I don't know if he's going to have the same impact as Bill will.
Hey,
but,
I mean, he definitely could.
It's still early on in his tenure here with Iowa State.
Yeah.
So we could, but yeah, obviously a guy like Bill will probably get something named after him. And of course, Matt Campbell will have his name etched in Iowa State history like he did on Saturday.
Quick plug, Daily Dish coming soon.
Yeah.
It's returning this year.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Houston game's in the rearview mirror, so we'll move forward to the Baylor game where Iowa State has the opportunity to win its 5th game, not just of the season, but in a row. And that would be the first time that Iowa State goes 5-0 in school history. It's kind of crazy that it's never happened before, honestly.
Yeah. I'm just as surprised, I mean, when you talk about kind of the past of the program with the other coaches like McCarney and stuff, I mean, when you talk about those just stats in general, it kind of does make sense. But at the same time, it's like you said, the golden age of Iowa State's right now. This is the opportunity to do it. This season, it's already gone well. Our schedule is lined up really well to face these kind of caliber of teams to really go potentially undefeated up until I feel like UCF, where that game could really give us fits, because West Virginia could, to be fair, because going to Morgantown won't always obviously be easy, but they haven't looked the best either at home. I think they lost twice now at home this season because they lost against Penn State, and then either way they won't be a slouch either, but still I would expect Iowa State to beat them because I do feel like they are the better team. But even going to now, like, I'm excited to see what happens at the whiteout game this Saturday. Yeah,
you can't overlook Baylor because that's what's on the schedule next.
Yeah.
Their quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, has completed 60% of his passes this year. He's thrown 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, both of those coming in the last game. So he's been fairly efficient when it comes to that. But Iowa State secondary has forced at least 1 interception every game. And the fact that he threw 2 in the last one kind of tells me that he's bound to throw another.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to expect that Robertson will have the best day in terms of going against our secondary. You saw him against Colorado when that thriller game when they went to overtime. He only threw for 148 passing yards, given he did lead the team in rushing yards with 82. But still, I do expect him to struggle like these other quarterbacks have against Iowa State secondary just because of what they've been able to do this season. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Sawyer is going to be able to do against this Iowa State secondary. It still does look like he's not going to be just a slouch to think of. Like, he's not going to probably be as bad as what Donovan Smith did or Jalen Rayner from Arkansas State. But, we'll see what he does on Saturday, just to say.
Yeah, there's going to be a pretty common thing, I think, just looking at the schedule and thinking about the quarterbacks that are on these teams upcoming. I think a lot of these quarterbacks are going to struggle against Iowa State secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll have the firm advantage in terms of defensive passing game, probably up until Utah, if Cam Rising is playing, which we might get to that later. Who knows if he ever plays football again at this point with how they've managed his injuries. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he was the starter for Baylor to start the season. Was that Daquan Finn?
Yeah, it was Daquan Finn.
So,
I don't know if Finn got hurt because I don't follow Baylor, to be fair, but either way, Finn
hurt or benched.
Yeah,
either way, he wasn't the
starter. When that loss to Utah was his last game.
Either way, he was not the starter to start the season. And I just think Iowa State might eat him alive, just like we've seen with Donovan Smith, Jalen Rayner of Arkansas State. I think Robertson could get eaten alive.
Yeah, they could do what Houston did, throw out both of them just to kind of mix up things. But then again, you see Houston tried to do it, did not work. But Robertson does have that dual threat ability. Obviously, saw him lead the team, 2 weeks ago against Colorado, where he got 82 yards on the ground. But still, just talking about Robertson, looks like they have one receiver over 200 receiving yards and 3 others over 100. So it's not really a team to slouch on. I feel like obviously our secondary will be able to handle these receivers, but at the same time, kind of want to watch out for that on top of their rushing game, which that's going to be a little bit of an issue because, they have 4 running backs over 100 yards with the Sawyer being one also with over 100 yards. So it's going to be interesting to see what this running defense does again against a team like Baylor.
Yeah, like we've talked about in weeks past, it feels like the Big 12, it's used to kind of been like an air raid type of league, but now it's the running backs that are starting to take over on a lot of these teams. And the fact that Baylor has 4 running backs that already have over 100 yards feels like it is another running back by committee type team. When you look at it also, all of those guys have between 31 and 37 carries. So they're spreading the ball around. Those guys are putting up numbers. And it's going to be another good test for the Iowa State linebackers when it comes to rushing defense. And I think that what we saw out of the Houston game, they're going to be able to probably rise up to the occasion. Just because I think that they're a group that's gotten better every week, and that definitely showed again in the Houston game.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think this game reminds me a lot of Houston last week, and I think Baylor definitely has a stronger offense.
Yeah, I would say
but
so.
They definitely have a weaker defense, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like the quarterbacks. I just confirmed that Daquan Finn has been injured. Okay. He got hurt against Utah a few weeks ago. So
he is listed as active right now.
He's listed. So I don't know if that's a coaching decision, not putting him back in because Sawyer has played good. Robertson, he has played good, but I just inexperienced quarterback going against this experienced Iowa State secondary. Yeah, I think they're going to have to try to run the ball again.
And we've seen even experienced quarterbacks struggle.
Donovan Smith.
Yeah. Look at Jalen Rayner as well.
Yeah.
Timmy McClain.
Cade McNamara.
Yeah.
Cade McNamara struggles against everyone.
That's true.
Yeah. No one really has proven they can attack the Iowa State secondary.
No, yeah. That's one of the best in the nation, I'd say. They're one of those top tier position groups just overall. And, like you kind of said, that reminds me of Houston. I do feel like Baylor will score more points against this, obviously, more than Houston.
They should score more than 0.
Yeah, they will score. I feel like my prediction will be they score more than 0, which is not a surprise. But, I still feel like they'll have time to struggle, but I feel like their main source of offense will obviously come from the running game just because of Iowa State's, what's the word for not stopping the run? Say that, yeah. Yeah. Basically can't stop the run, basically.
Their inability,
yeah.
Their former inability, because they sort of did it against Houston.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. But, again, they've got good running backs, and they can score, too. All but one of their 4 running backs has a touchdown.
Yeah.
So like Iowa State's, they can score as well. So
yeah. And Sawyer actually leads the rushing game in touchdowns.
He does.
He's rushed for 3, and every other one. All the other running backs have scored 1 because they've gotten a chance to all score. But yeah, I expect a lot of rushing from Sawyer come Saturday, and I expect a lively crowd on Saturday at the Whiteout. Hope you guys are going to be there as well, like we are.
You better be.
Yeah, it better be. Under the lights at Jack Trice. First time this season because North Dakota and Arkansas State weren't worthy of night games. But facing a team like Baylor should be a lot of fun. Night games are always a lot of fun. They're my favorite. I feel like I don't know about you guys, but especially with these Whiteout uniforms I'm going to be wearing. Ooh, oh boy.
When we talk about the Whiteout uniforms, I kind of wish. See, these alternates aren't really my favorite of the Iowa State uniforms in general. I saw an edit on Twitter the other day that had the black accents on the uniform. It was red, and it looked so much better. If they did that, then that would be like the whiteout combo for Iowa State.
I'm so over the black and white uniforms. I think with the new rebrand jersey looks, the black and white uniforms look even worse than they did last year.
I agree.
I think the black uniforms looked much cleaner last year before the rebrand, and I'm over it. I don't want to see them anymore. I'm just done. I'm done.
I do agree with you there. Yeah, I feel like the black ones do look a little bit worse than last year's and previous years before that. But I don't know. I might just be a sucker for the white and black, all white and then the black accents.
I think it will look cool with the whiteout.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it will. I think it'll work for this game.
I really hope they paint the end zones black.
Yeah, I think they are. Or
okay, they did. Well, they did in the last blackout whiteout game, whatever it was. But then to have put Cyclones or Iowa State just in white font or white lettering, I think that would look cool.
That'd be perfect.
Then just have the midfield logo just be I don't know, a white outline of Iowa State. Yeah. Don't color it in.
I think Baylor's winning their what is it isn't it the all gray, I think, or I don't remember what Baylor's
hopefully they're not wearing gray. That would be a white on gray.
Yeah,
I
kind of hopefully they're wearing all yellow
uniform.
I hope they were all green, honestly.
All green.
Yeah.
All green. Yeah, I'm a sucker for green, so I like seeing green.
And if you're going to the game, wear white.
Wear white.
Of course, yeah.
Go with the theme.
Yeah.
Red and yellow is not fit for this game. Obviously, it's still show that you support Iowa State. Yeah,
you can, but there's a better option given the theme.
Yeah.
I know you have a white T-shirt sitting around somewhere.
Just write Iowa State on it. Yeah. Take a marker.
Do whatever,
take a Sharpie.
Not the I State logo.
That way it matches
do what I did last year before the Kansas basketball game, because that was a whiteout game. I went to Walmart, got a $15 Iowa State shirt. It was way too big for me, but whatever. If you're gonna wear it one time, it serves its purpose.
I did buy that. Was it the juice box?
Juicy box, yeah.
Juicy Wiggle box, whatever.
Yep.
It did come with those shirts, so I'm not, specifically wanting to advertise that, but
it was a good deal. 4 shirts for $40.
Yeah, $10 per shirt. They got the red, yellow, white, and then the black Juicy Wiggle shirts. Yeah, I would. I am advertising it. You could buy it. It's only $40 for 4 shirts. And
are you getting paid by Juicy Wiggle right now?
No. Yeah, no.
Can confirm we're not.
Can confirm.
But yeah,
it's a cool deal that they have.
Yeah, but then I do remember when we did make our uniform reviews when they did come out. I kind of did mention how I couldn't wait for it to be October 5th, which is actually coming up soon, and obviously this Saturday. But, just in general, I feel like
you had it right with the uniform combo they're actually wearing, because I was kind of hoping, or I thought that they were going to wear the normal the normal white.
Because they have a white helmet and white pants, That's what they showed with Jalen Noel when they were first advertising. I'm like, oh shoot, did I get my prediction wrong? But then all of a sudden now, okay, thank goodness they actually kept it the way I thought it was going to be, and now it will be. That's Saturday.
My favorite combo. I kind of hope we see that one at a game like Utah, honestly.
Oh yeah,
if that's a night game,
that'd be sweet.
That would be so cool. Yeah. Well, fun little uniform tangent right there.
That's your jersey talk for the week.
Yeah.
It'll go back to the usual.
Back to Baylor. The spread opened up. I saw that Iowa State was favored by 13. It opened up against Baylor. Looks like it's fallen to 12.5. Looks like they might want people to...
The Sharps like Baylor.
Yeah.
They have been playing some very fun, tight games the last 2 games.
They have. I mean, they almost upset BYU. And BYU is a top team in the Big 12, surprisingly.
And Matt Campbell said that they're one of the best teams in the Big 12. We saw that
in
the second half.
Yeah, or the fourth quarter.
And late team, they actually are no slouches. You'd think you'd want to take your foot off the gas, but they're one of those teams that try and make you pay for it. Obviously, the last 2 games they haven't been able to actually pull away from it, but still, I do expect Baylor to give Iowa State some fight. And what do you say the spread was 11.5?
12.5.
12.5, yeah. I don't know. I feel like Baylor could get. In my personal opinion, if I were to choose right now, I don't have an official score prediction, but I feel like I'd take the Baylor plus 12.5. I do feel like it'll be that within 2 scores type of close.
I think they'll get it I'm thinking 2 touchdowns probably.
2 touchdowns, okay.
Yeah.
Caden?
I'm kind of with Brett too. 12.5 is a really good number. I mean, it's just hard. You're either thinking I could easily see them winning by 10. I could easily see them winning by 14. It's just kind of where, I mean, screw it. Iowa State minus 12.5. Who am I kidding?
Just because of knowing what's at stake with this one. It's the first home night game of the season. It's a whiteout. Campbell just set the record.
It's going to be crazy in there.
Dan McCarney, I heard, is going to be at the game.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So it's going to be a big deal. Jack Trice is going to be rocking on Saturday night.
It's going to be a good time.
One low-key element of this game, I think, is we haven't even mentioned their game 2 weeks ago against Colorado when they just threw it away.
They should have won that game.
Colorado practically converted on 2 straight Hail Marys. The first one was dropped.
Yep.
Second one came through.
It's probably better that he dropped that one because he would have fell at the 1 yard line. They would have ran out of time probably.
But Baylor has struggled the last 2 years. They are down big time from what they were just a few years ago when they won the Big 12. And a topic of conversation has been Dave Aranda and his seat warming up. And it's after that Colorado game, it was at all-time high in discourse around his job. And Baylor has a bye week after this game. If Iowa State puts it on them, don't be shocked if Dave Aranda is out the door the very next week.
Yeah,
I could see it. Yeah, I mean, just like you said, Colorado game, then BYU. You come back home thinking you're going to take down a team like BYU, and this kind of the same result happens. You try and come back into it, and they fall short to the Cougars team. So, this game, I feel like Baylor's just kind of waiting for the bye week at this point. They've been playing these tough teams, especially 2 on the road. Having to go to Colorado and do see what happened there, and now they have to come to Ames and probably have a hard time against Iowa State. So yeah. I would have to agree with you there, Caden. I don't know. I think Miranda's seat's definitely very hot right now.
Yeah. It is interesting. I don't know if this really means anything, but Iowa State is Baylor's first kind of traditional Big 12 opponent. Their first Big 12 game was against Utah. Well, actually, that wasn't really a conference game, technically. But then they played Colorado, who came back. And then they played BYU, who they're in their second year. And now they're finally playing a Big 12 team that they're familiar with. So maybe that could play something into it with Baylor kind of, maybe being a bit more competitive in this game.
Yeah. They haven't left Utah or Colorado for the last 4 weeks. They've been playing the Mountain West and the Pac-12 at this point right now.
Yeah.
And then
their first look at Midwest football.
Yeah, true. And then, Iowa State's going to want to win this game specifically, too, because the history of Iowa State and Baylor football, Baylor does hold the 12-10 record right now over Iowa State, actually. So, they're going to try
That's closer than I thought.
Yeah. I did not know that either. I kind of pulled it up as we were talking. First matchup I see was a 35-0 loss to Baylor in 1988.
Jeez, that was before they were Big 12 opponents.
Yeah, and then the biggest
Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
Then the largest margin of victory was when we beat them 41-0 in 2001. So it kind of made up for it. But obviously, this in terms of just history, they're trying to get back up to that 500 range and then exceed it come future seasons.
Yeah, that'd be cool because I think Kansas State is the only one of the Big 12 schools that Iowa State has a winning record all time against, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Iowa State. Iowa State's kind of on the trajectory that Kansas State's been on for the last 20 years at this point. Because people don't. I mean, Kansas State's been a good program for a while now.
Yep, but 30 some years.
Yeah, but before Bill Snyder, they were awful.
Yeah,
they were probably the worst power program in the country, and you can make the case that's what Iowa State was for a long time. One of the worst power programs.
I would say that. Yeah.
So 100%. I mean, it's just a testament to show how good coaching can elevate a program so much. Nobody even really remembers how bad Kansas State used to be.
Yeah. Another quick thing, kind of talking about stuff like that. Another Matt Campbell nugget. He's made 6 bowl games. Iowa State as a whole, as an institution, all time, has made 18 bowl games. So Campbell's made it to a third of Iowa State's bowl games. So
that's phenomenal.
And
unbelievable.
8% of the seasons.
Yeah. I mean, granted, there is a 2-4 record with that, but he's getting his teams to winning records.
Yeah, he's getting them to that bowl game, which is the most important.
Yep.
Memphis.
I
don't want to talk about Memphis. Beat them that one time, then they had to beat us the other time, which is...
I want to go somewhere other than Memphis.
Please,
I can promise you we will not be at the Liberty Bowl again.
Yeah. Well, I say I won't because I had to cover it last year in Memphis. I had to go to Memphis, so, I mean...
You need a T-shirt that says, I survived Memphis.
Yeah. They gave me a T-shirt and a cup just in general for being able to cover that game in Memphis, but at the same time, I was like, damn. Because I had to drive all the way down to Memphis, see them lose, and then drive back up. But... it's still a fun time with the boys from last year. So
I went to that game as a spectator when they won the first one. It was much more fun watching them win probably than lose, but
it must have been. Yeah,
really. I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah, who knew? Yeah,
there was a lot of beef that year. It was kind of there was a press conference. Someone turned a helmet upside down or something, and that was weird. But
yeah, the year they won, right?
Yeah, the year they won. Yeah.
Because, I mean, that was an interesting game, too, because wasn't Memphis scoring like 40 points on average that year? And then Iowa State holds them to 20 and wins by 1 point.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that whole town was, because it was the first year Memphis had ever been in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was crazy down there. We were there all weekend, and it was fun. Memphis was an experience.
Yeah.
You went there.
I went there.
It is a place that
you play football at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that, though, when a team gets to play a bowl game at their home stadium. That just doesn't seem fair to me.
Yeah, when I first heard that news last year, like hoping we'd go to somewhere like my hope was going to Arizona because, I'm from Arizona, but still going to Orlando I think would be fun in Florida. But then
Florida would be sick.
Seeing Memphis, I'm like, okay, going to Memphis, but who are we going to play is what I'm wondering. And then playing the hometown team, I'm like, oh my God, like why?
And it's not just it's happened once, it's happened multiple times now. Like,
it's in the past
ridiculous,
6 years.
I know.
At this point, like Iowa State hosts a bowl game, huh?
Please,
yeah.
No one wants it. No one
no,
wants a bowl game.
No. Yeah.
That's gonna be. It'll be negative 10 degrees by the time that bowl game's.
That's true. Yeah.
We all just want a nice warm vacation.
Yeah. Suka Benzone would definitely sell out if that happens.
Yeah, I'm sure they would never leave that box.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a conversation for another day. Get out of the suck up end zone box. Come on. Get in the stands.
Yeah.
Speaking of the stands, I hope they're full this week. They should be.
They will be.
They should be.
Yeah, especially with Campbell's win over Houston being the record setting. And then if, like you said, McCartney's expected to be there. So I do expect it to be full and cheers loud for Campbell. And I'm expecting he doesn't show a lot of emotions, but I feel like they might just be a little bit because of everyone cheering him on. And maybe there's some alumni that show up. Obviously players like Brock Purdy, David Montgomery probably won't be there because of the NFL season rolling on. They're unable, unless they're on a bye week, but I don't think they are next week. So
I don't think so.
If fans don't show up for a whiteout night game with Iowa State having the chance to go 5-0 for the first time in school history, then I don't know what you'll show up for at this point against a team they should win. It's not like we're playing Alabama or anything over here. I mean, we should win this game.
Playoff against Alabama?
That's too early to talk about.
Okay.
It's never too early close to the playoffs, maybe.
That's also true, yeah.
Another thing I thought that was cool after the Houston game was that Campbell's family was flown out there, and it was a complete surprise to him.
I didn't see that, really. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, his whole family went out to Houston after for the game.
Oh, that's cool.
And he didn't find out till after.
I saw that they had the McCartney video prepped and a bunch of former players.
Montgomery, the whole New York Cyclones team. I know, Brad, you would like to see that.
They bring me nothing but pain. I love them, but they bring me nothing but pain.
Yeah, don't talk about this weekend. They're going to go Vikings, baby.
Probably.
Yeah. Jets Vikings.
I'm not waking up at 8:30 for that game.
Oh, I am. Sam Darnold revenge game. You better believe it.
Well, mostly because we'll be at the game forever.
Yeah.
True. And Perkins.
Post-game Perkins.
We love post-game Perkins. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one this Saturday, definitely.
I would say so. As always, I'm looking forward to it.
Of course.
How can you not? The environment should be crazy.
Yeah. So, quick little recap. We'll kind of wrap up here, I think. Secondary should be good again. It's going to feel a lot like the Houston game, I think. Baylor has a slightly better offense, a slightly better defense. They should score. I don't think Iowa State's going to shut them out, but expect the secondary to force another turnover. Expect the linebackers to step up a little bit more. We should see the running back room by committee be there. Another thing that I think we forgot to mention real quick, the tight ends had 0 catches against Houston. They were non-existent against the Cougars. And that's kind of interesting because against Arkansas State, that's when they started to kind of come alive. But then that first Big 12 game, they kind of take a back seat. So that'll be another thing to kind of focus on. Do the tight ends get involved?
Or any wide receiver 3, really, in general.
Yeah. Last week it was
only Nolan Higgins is the only pass catchers who caught passes besides Carson Brown.
Yeah, Carson Brown, the freshman receiver, caught 2 passes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big shout out Carson Brown.
Yeah, 2 catches for 18 yards. Got to talk to him earlier today at press conference. Seemed like a nice guy. It looked like he was waiting for his opportunity and finally got it. Played a lot of special teams, but finally got his role in the offense, which he's been longing for. And we could see more of him this weekend. Which
obviously the coaches like him. I mean, you wouldn't throw a freshman out there for no reason like that. I mean,
it says a lot, I think, because of the fact that he kind of played more once Noel went out with his cramping. The fact that they went to Carson Brown over guys like Eli Green, Isaiah Alston, Benny Nagoy to say like, hey, you're a freshman, we're going to give you your shot right now.
They might be almost like breeding him to match his role once Noel's out of the picture, and like this is your kind of niche in this offense going forward. Like this is where you learn.
Yep. I wouldn't be shocked if they maybe try to redshirt him this year. I think
if you can, you definitely should.
Yeah, especially 100%. With Nolan Higgins being there. But again, Baylor this weekend, whiteout game, wear white. Everybody should go. If you can't go though, game's going to be nationally televised on Fox. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. Watch it. Iowa State trying to go 5-0 for the first time in school history. Again, thank you so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time after the Baylor game.